So it is officially the end of summer, and it's a great time for a market update. Here we go. So we are mid-September and we are 9 months almost into the 2019 year, and it's a great time to just reflect on the real estate market and actually take a look back and think, did we meet the market experts' expectations as to what would happen in 2019? Because we are almost 3/4 into the year. So let's take it back to January 1st, when everyone was making their predictions on what we would see in the market. So experts were predicting back in January that we would see increasing inventory levels, and those higher inventory levels would actually even out and neutralize the market a little bit. They were also predicting that we were going to see a significant uptick in interest rates for buyers, and they were actually thinking that we would be at this time in 2019 over 5% in interest rate levels for buyers, which is fairly significant. So how did we stack up? Well, in 2019, in the past almost 3/4, we saw 2,351 homes sold in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, only in the South Hills, the southwest section of the Pittsburgh market. So that's a pretty decent number in just the southwest segment, and we were on average 51 days on market, which is not bad. Now, if you break that up in the very first quarter, which is January, February, March, the first 3 months when it's kind of still in winter and people are moving slow, they're not really thinking about selling a home, we sold 563 homes that quarter, and our average days on market was 65 days. So that's a little bit slower than we saw the rest of the year, which makes sense because it's winter and people are moving a little bit slower. The second quarter, however, is when we saw things tick up just a little bit. So that is your April, May, June quarter window of the year. And we saw 1,018 homes sold at an average 49 days on the market. So obviously things were moving quite a bit quicker. 65 days on market was our first quarter, 49 days on market was the average for the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, so far, now granted we still have a few weeks left to close out the quarter, but we've actually sold 770 homes in the southwest section of the Pittsburgh market so far, and we are at 40 days on market. So things surprisingly, even throughout the summer, held steady. We frequently in Pittsburgh see a little bit of a summer slump where things start to slow down a little bit. And quite frankly, in the majority of the Pittsburgh market, we did not see that as significantly as we normally do. So I would say overall, we did not experience the neutralizing of the market that the experts were predicting. Things are still moving pretty quick, and all of this happened at an average interest rate of 3.8%. That is awesome, guys. Experts were predicting that we were going to be well above 5% interest rates for buyers by this point in 2019, and right now we are sitting well below 4%. 3.8% is our average. So we are doing very well. So kudos to you, South Hills of Pittsburgh. But so what does this all mean to us? So I guess you could break it down. Are you buying or are you selling? So if you are buying, it is an okay time to buy. Interest rates are great. They're still lower than 4%. They're actually anticipating them to be only 4.2% or so by the end of 2020. So experts are not predicting as much of an uptick as they were originally. So it's still a good time to buy in terms of your buying power. However, since we have not seen the increase in inventory levels that we were expecting a lot more houses to be available for more people to realize that it's a good time to sell and put their homes on the market. So we have not seen those increasing inventory levels, which means that it's very competitive. So if you are thinking about buying, you need to make sure that you are competitive. You need to make sure that you have your pre-approval in hand, you have all of your ducks in a row, and that you are ready to write a very competitive and aggressive offer. So if you're buying, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a good time because buying power is strong and interest rates are low, but at the same time, there's going to be heavy competition. If you are selling, it is a fantastic time to sell. Inventory levels are still low, so that means that there's not very many homes to choose from. There are lots of buyers still out there looking, so it is an awesome time of the year to sell. There are, however, pockets of the market that are showing maybe that neutralization in the market is coming. So for example, in the Pittsburgh market, if you take a look at the high end, which is usually where we start to see changes in the market. For example, in South Fayette, anywhere above $500,000, you are looking at a 7.3 months supply of inventory. And so that is actually a buyer's market. We typically think anything less than a 6 month supply of inventory is a seller's market. Sellers are in control. There are not very many homes to choose from. But right now in that pocket, Upper St. Clair is very similar in the $500,000 plus. There are actually 8 months supply of inventory on market. So that is very much entrenched in the buyer's markets section. So it's well above 6 months supply. So those two pockets are kind of maybe leading me to believe that we are going to see those increasing inventory levels, the neutralization of the market just a little bit, because typically changes do happen in the high end first. So it is a very good time to sell still. Buyers are out there looking, they're aggressive. Sellers are getting more than they expect a lot of times for the sale of their home, but just beware that that neutralization of the market could indeed be coming. So that is our end of summer market update. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.